I thought you weren't supposed to be hosting the call.
I can host. The place I'm sitting at is pretty good. Unfortunately, I have background music.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. How you guys doing?
All right, how you doing?
All right, how you doing?
Better.
Better than what?
Well, he was sick.
Better than sitting over a toilet and
Poisoning or something.
never eat Subway in China. It's not a good idea.
I'm under the philosophy, never eat in China.
No, you can eat in China. They just, I don't know, their practices in Subway might not be the same in the States. So, with cold cuts and veggies, so.
And how was your chicken head dinner?
That was fine.
You ate a chicken head?
Yes, I did.
What does chicken head taste like?
It's
Chicken?
It's chicken.
Well, I mean, there's not a lot of meat on a chicken's head.
That's what I was going to say. I can't imagine there's a whole lot of meat up there. Unless you're eating the brain.
I think that was
Brains.
that was in there too.
Brains. You had to eat the brain?
So when you say in there too, you don't mean that you were just given a severed head on a plate. You mean it was just like chicken bits.
No.
And
it
those
wasn't
bits
severed.
came from the head?
No, it was severed head on the plate. I'm just trying to remember if the brain was still in there, and I think it was still in there.
So you have to crack the skull and then get to the brain.
No, I think the bottom part's empty, so you can go in and all that.
So do you suck it out like an oyster? Or?
Yeah, you can do that.
Remind me never to go to China.
That doesn't sound appealing. That doesn't sound good, dude.
It was okay.
No, it
wasn't
doesn't.
that bad. I mean, let's put this. I'm not going to keep eating it. I'll try it once, and then I tried it, so no, I'm not going to ever have it again.
Caca.
It did not tickle my fancy.
I can't say I'm surprised, but hey, kudos for trying it. I'm not sure. See, I'm one of those, like, I'll eat it. Just don't, if it's something like that, don't tell me what it is. Let me try it and be like, man, that really wasn't good. And then they'll be like, ha ha ha, that's because it was chicken brain.
Well, it was pretty obvious what this was because it looked like a chicken head.
Do you eat the bill? Do you eat the bill?
No, it's on there. I think it's just, I don't think you can eat that. It's too tough. It's like bone.
It's not edible?
No.
See, I'm all for trying new stuff. When I went on a cruise, I ate some stuff that I didn't think I would ever try, like cold melon soup.
That sounds better than chicken head.
Well, I was going to say, there's something, like if I went to a restaurant, I mean, of course, when you're on a cruise, it's all free. So if I went to a restaurant, I probably wouldn't order that because if I didn't like it, I'd be paying for it. So I'm
Yes.
willing to try new stuff. But if somebody sat me down and said, would you like a free chicken head dinner? I don't know that I could do that. Unique stuff I'm okay with.
I would just be questioning, why are you giving me this chicken head dinner for free?
Did you run out of the rest of the chicken? Or
Like, I would just automatically assume someone's trying to with me. Hey, dude, you want this chicken head dinner? It's free. I'll pass.
Nah, I'm good, man. I'll just have some egg foo young.
Chicken head hasn't been the weirdest thing I've had.
Yeah, but you know what? You've gotten sick a decent amount in China, and they serve weird
Well, I got sick. Because of
from Subway.
Subway.
Not from the chicken head, but from Subway.
that's what surprised the hell out of me. I've eaten all this other weird crap, and the Subway is the one that actually did me in.
That's actually exceptionally funny. Eating all kinds of crazy food, and yet Subway is the one that got you.
Yeah, I know I had food poisoning, and me and my girlfriend ate the same stuff the whole day, except she didn't have a sub, and I did.
Well, I'm sure they don't have the same kind of
Food safety requirements.
standards as they do here.
The FDA isn't quite as stringent.
Right. The health department probably doesn't make regular checks on restaurants over there.
So it was a minor fun day for 3 days of not eating and just puking. So
I can honestly say I've never had food poisoning.
Oh, dude, it's horrible.
And it sounds like I'm glad that I haven't.
lucky you.
Yeah, I don't know if it was food. I know I got food poisoning in college, and it was horrible because it was a Friday night. We basically ordered chicken wings from this awesome place called, well, it tasted phenomenal. It's called Luchetti's, and they don't do like, the normal frozen wings. They're all fresh wings, and they're delicious, but they weren't cooked all the way. So I ended up getting really sick.
You're lucky you didn't get salmonella.
Well, but then it was also, since it was Friday night, everyone was faced. So everyone was out partying. I'm sitting there like pissing out my ass, puking in a bucket. I went to call somebody and the phone was on the wall and I actually collapsed and couldn't reach it. So I had to just lie there until my roommates got home. It was horrible.
Nice. You need one of those
Life alert. Yeah. I've fallen and I can't get up.
I can't get to the phone because I'm pissing out my ass.
Oh, that would be a funny call. But thankfully, our one neighbor didn't drink, and she drove me over there once my buddies got home.
She took me to the hospital so I could have my stomach pumped.
No, they just ended up giving me multiple bags of saline solution because I was just horribly dehydrated. There's nothing they can really do for you.
So wait a minute. When you're dehydrated, they give you salt water?
Pretty much.
Doesn't that make you more dehydrated?
I don't know, dude. I'm not. I mean, it makes sense, but I know you need salt.
I'm not questioning why they gave you what they did. It just seems counterintuitive.
I would tend to agree, but yeah, I guess I'm a little too trusting in that department. I mean, because logically, when you think about it, that makes sense. But they give you some kind of saline solution when you are dehydrated, and then just go, well, you just kind of have to wait it out.
That's awful.
It is. Really is. But anyway.
Anyways, what you guys been doing all week? Anything? Or 2 weeks now?
We played Left 4 Dead last
Left 4
night,
Dead.
and since
2.
Well, hold on. 2. We've got new information though. This isn't the same old just Left 4 Dead because we had 5 people, and the only 5-player game that we had in common was Left 4 Dead 2. So we decided to do the Infected versus Survivor mode, which I had never played before ever.
Neither have I.
I know they had something similar in the original Left 4 Dead, and I had never played it. So we fired that up last night, and actually we wound up with, I think 8 people at one point.
Yeah, we actually had 9, and when one of them left, we had another hop right in. But it was a lot of fun.
I can't believe we'd never tried it before. It's a friggin' blast.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was one of those things where afterwards it's like, all right, we're definitely going to have to do that again in the near future because that was a lot of fun. And don't ever ask Phil to have your back because he's not good at it. You run over and save him, he'd get up, and then you'd get hit by one of the tongue, you're getting choked by a tongue or a hunter. He's looking at you and then just kind of runs right by you. And then it turns around and is like, oh, let me get you. But now half your health is gone.
Yeah, the cool thing about the game is not only was it fun playing as Infected, but the manner in which the multiplayer works is really fun. Basically what you do is you play the campaign mode. So say you start off as the survivors, your goal is to get as far as you can before everybody dies. And then if you're infected, your job is to try and stop the survivors from advancing. And then what happens is you switch places, and then the people who are the infected become the survivors, and then they try to get as far as they can, and whoever got further wins. And then the maps where you have to fill the car up with gas or the generator with gas, it has a countdown or a counter, and whoever fills up the gas tank the most in that scenario wins. So it's not just deathmatch. It's
you're playing the game. I think we've only had 2 people actually made it to the end of any given stage the entire time. It's hard. I mean, you're going along, but it gets hard because then, the horde starts coming and then there's a tank and someone's controlling the tank and you're smarter than the computer is in most cases. So
unless you're Phil,
you can hide somewhere and then, pick off the straggler and that kind of thing. But we were having a blast with it. It really was a lot of fun. And like Ivan said, it's one of those where we said, why have we never tried this? But I think it's because we've always just had 4 or less people. So there was really never any...
I don't think it would be fun with 4 people doing 2-on-2. I don't think that would be fun. I think you have to have at least 6 people so that you have 3 on a side. I shouldn't say that. We played 5 players for a few rounds, and it was 3-on-2, and that was actually still pretty fun.
Yes, it was, but it was more fun when we had a full crew.
And like Keith said, you're usually smarter than the computer, so you there's some strategy involved. The one map is this open kind of place with all these broken down cars, and your goal is to find gas tanks and fill up the generator. Well, Keith found out that if you stood on top of this little pile of boxes over on the side as the spitter, the infected that spits out the green thing, and when you stand in the green goo, you take constant damage. He would stand up on there, run over, spit right on top of the generator, and then run away, so that everyone was trying to run up and fill up gas tanks, and they were too dumb to wait for the ooze to go away. They'd try and fill it up, and they'd sit there and they'd take damage. And you get points for how much damage you do when you're the infected. So when someone's standing in the green goo, you get 1 point for every
tick of damage.
Yeah, every tick. So you just see all these little ones popping up. And what he would do is what we would do is someone would like be a hunter or something, catch somebody who was trying to fill up the gas tank, knock them down, and then Keith would come by and spit on them. So there's 2 people taking damage, and then there's other people trying to come over and either fill up the gas tank or try and resurrect the people who had fallen down, and they're taking damage. And I think that one map, we
slaughtered
annihilated them.
And not only that, because you know how a lot of times when we have to fill the gas tank, we have 2 people running around grabbing it, and then they'll throw it over by the car, generator, whatever it is. Well, the spit will also explode the gas tanks. And they couldn't figure out where I was. No one ever saw me, so I just kept stepping forward and spitting and backing up. We beat them so bad that round, but it's just fun. It was a lot of fun. I would highly recommend it. If you have not played that version of the game and you have Left 4 Dead 2, rock it, because it's a blast. We were playing till about 2 in the morning last night.
We quit right at 2 a.m. and we started at 9?
Yeah, I was about to say 8:30, 8:45 was when we started. I had numb ass by the time we stopped playing.
We started, there was just 4 of us, so we played the campaign for probably a good hour or more, maybe 2 hours. And then Chris showed up, and he wanted to play something, so then we probably spent the next half an hour trying to figure out what we were going to play, so then we jumped back into Left 4 Dead 2. So it was probably about 10 or so when we started playing multiplayer. So we probably played for a good 4 hours. So it was me and Phil and Keith and Chris, and then Keaton was with us.
I was about to say Keaton was with us the whole time as well. And then Cypher joined us shortly thereafter.
Cypher joined us for a while, and then a couple of other folks who I had never played with before.
Yeah, Fuse and C plus Authy, and I don't know, Mindy was one of their friends. I've never actually met her, but
who is a female.
Yes.
And didn't talk much in Vent, but was freaking very, very good at Left 4 Dead.
Yes.
She was on my team a lot, and like the Boomer. The Boomer's the big fat guy that comes by and spits on you, and when he spits on you, he makes the undead attracted to you. And he only takes 1 shot, and he explodes. Well, most of us, when we got the Boomer, we were like, oh, crap. And we just kind of ran straight for him and died, and then just waited for a better infected. Well, she was actually pretty good. She's hiding behind buildings, and when I'm dead, I'm sitting there, I switch to her, and I'm watching her. She'd hide behind a building, wait for a couple people to show up, jump out in front of them, spit on them, they'd shoot her, and it'd blow up and then do damage to him too. So
yeah, she was using the Boomer much better than the rest of us. I can't hit for crap though with the Hunter, the Jockey, or the Charger. I was just brutal.
Yeah, you were not good with the Hunter, I had noticed, and I was
I'm just leaping around.
And it was funny because you can't tell who's who. It doesn't say like Mighty Oot above the infected guy. It's just there's a Hunter running around. It's not until you kill somebody that it pops up and says Mighty Oot has killed like C Palladino. So there's the one stage where it's the stage after you get the car and you're running towards the hotel. We're starting off there, and we were the survivors, and the other team was the infected, and Keith was on the other team. And we just started off, and we're running down that strip of cars, and all of a sudden, the Hunter pops out, and he's leaping back and forth like 3 or 4 times, and he keeps missing people. Chris goes, that's got to be Keith. And then he turns around and shoots him, and it says C. Palladino kills Mighty Oot. We all just burst into laughter because he's like, yeah, Keith is no good at all at the Hunter.
I was sweet with the acid thing and then the smoker, but not the Hunter Charger. I just couldn't
I wasn't too bad with the Charger, but yeah, the Hunter's hard because
you have to crouch and charge your crouch.
Yeah, you have to crouch and then jump, and it's hard because crouch is like the control button. So you're trying to hold down the control button while still moving around with the W key, and then lining up so that you can jump on somebody. And 9 times out of 10, I run up into the middle of the guys, find somebody to try and jump on them, and before I even got the jump off, somebody shoots me.
You're very fragile, but it's a lot of fun, and you respawn. So
yeah, I was just going to say, when you're the infected are very squishy. Most of them, other than the charger and the tank, die with one shot, and it's kind of frustrating because you get in a good position, you run up to like spit on them or something, and they shoot you, and then it usually takes like 30 seconds total to respawn, but you do respawn as infected. When you're the survivors, you don't respawn, but you also have the health packs, and if you get knocked down, your teammates can come by and pick you back up. So that's kind of the trade-off. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I couldn't believe we had never tried that before. And it was just the only reason that we tried it was because we looked. The only two games everyone had in common was, I think, Team Fortress 2 and Left 4 Dead 2.
And we had Half-Life 2, but not everyone had the Team Fortress and Half-Life installed.
Right. I didn't have Team Fortress 2 installed, so I started installing it. Well, it's not just install. It's got to download everything and install, and it was going to take an hour and a half to install. So we were like, well, we're not going to wait for that. What else can we play? Well, the only other thing everyone has is Left 4 Dead 2, so that's how we kind of started playing it. But I'm glad we did, because I've played Team Fortress 2, and it's a lot of fun, but
I would play that over Team Fortress 2.
I was going to say, knowing what I know now, I think Left 4 Dead 2 with the playing as the infected is more fun. Because Team Fortress 2 is just straight up deathmatch. There's really no there's no objectives. There's no unique kind of gameplay. The unique gameplay comes in the different classes that you can be.
Yeah, it's either capture the flag or domination or just deathmatch. It's a regular shooter, whereas this was... I really liked the fact that it was still play through the campaign, scoring points, and then switching sides. It was just... It added a different spice to it. It was nice. Beyond that, I've only been playing Blood Bowl. We're trying to re-kickstart the Blood Bowl, the Blood Bowl League, and we actually will be all right with it. It seems so.
It's going well.
We got about right now? I think we got about 8 people. Tonight, I know that a couple people got to get the game. Like Fred has to reinstall the game and has to refind it. So I think tonight is more of when we're done with the show, we're going to be playing it to teach some of the people, like Tom Miss, Wolf. A couple of the people really haven't played it before, but they're down for trying. And it's a very straightforward game. Blood Bowl is like a turn-based football game for anyone that really hasn't played it or doesn't know what it is. And it's set in the Warhammer world, so you have your teams are orcs, undead, humans, Skaven, all just different kinds of races and the different strengths of different teams, so they all do the different things. But it's turn-based, and it's based upon 8-turn halves. If you fail a roll for any reason, everything you do requires a roll. Pick up the ball requires a roll. Dodge away from someone requires a roll. Block somebody requires a roll. So you keep going until you fail a roll, and when you fail a roll, your turn ends. But there's more strategy than that, because you really don't want to leave your guy stranded out there, especially if he has the ball by his lonesome. So there's the whole ideas of building cages around the guy and moving with that, and how, when should you be blocking, when shouldn't you be blocking, when isn't an acceptable risk, because then you also have tackle zones, which are the squares adjacent to your players, and anyone that moves out of those tackle zones has to make a roll. So the whole object is to try to, on offense, obviously move down the field and have your guys score, either by passing or throwing. And on defense, the whole object is to set up a wall and have tackle zones covered so they can't just run right by you, and everything they do is going to require them to roll. So there's more strategy than one would think with it, but so tonight I think it's just going to be kind of playing with Tom and Mike and those guys just to really let them have a feel for the game before I think we're going to try to kick it off next week. But that's really been it for me, was Blood Bowl and Left 4 Dead 2, but we definitely have to do the Left 4 Dead 2 thing again, because that was a hoot.
Good. Ivan, just Warcraft?
Yeah, pretty much. I haven't really done much.
No, that's fine. How's Warcraft going? done with everything?
No, we're still. We are now 11 out of 12 bosses down in our raid, so we only have what is considered. There's 3 raids, 3 different dungeons. The last one, or one of them, is considered the hardest of all 3, and the last boss in that one is pretty much considered the hardest boss of the 3 dungeons. He's kind of like, the end boss for this tier of raiding.
So is the end goal to kill Deathwing?
It will be eventually. It's kind of like how Wrath of the Lich King started. When Wrath of the Lich King came out, you had Naxxramas was the one raid that they had available. And the end guy there was a lich guy named Kel'Thuzad.
Yeah, we played that, but not on we played it through the normal 5-man instance, because you can do those dungeons with 5 people.
Yeah. So so when Wrath came out, that was the dungeon and that was the end boss. There was nobody else to beat. And then they came out with the raid called Ulduar, which was all the godlike guys. And the end guy there was a old god named what the hell's his name?
We'll call him Steve. Steve, the old god.
So they kind of build up. Yogg-Saron was the end boss there, and then they came out. So what I'm trying to get at is it's not until they get towards the end of the expansion, when they've pretty much wrapped it up and they aren't planning anything new, and it's the kind of end of life of that expansion, and they have already started working on the next expansion, and it's going to be coming out within less than a year. That's when they kind of introduce the main last boss of an expansion, and that's when they released Icecrown Citadel, and that's when the Lich King was the end boss. So in Cataclysm, we have 3 raids now, and the big guy is Nefarian, the giant dragon aspect guy. And there'll probably be 2 or 3 more tiers before they get to release the final raid, which the final boss of that one will be Deathwing.
Now, I thought Nefarian was Deathwing.
No. I believe Nefarian is Deathwing's son.
Because what I thought it was, only because I've actually read a few of the World of Warcraft books, like the Well of Eternity, and I started reading that series. And the way that was set up was Nefarian, I think, was the aspect of Earth. Was the Earth dragon?
Yes.
And then he became evil.
Deathwing.
But Nefarian is Deathwing before he became Deathwing.
I don't...
I could be wrong. I mean, I would trust you over it. Just from what I remember of reading that book, they made it sound like Nefarian was Nefarian when he was good and then became evil. And when he became evil, he became Deathwing and became the aspect of death. Like, are you doing time traveling nonsense?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Well, one of the things that is anticipated is they'll have a Caverns of Time. If you've ever done like Old Hillsbrad or The Culling of Stratham, those are the ones where you go back in time. They're thinking that they'll probably create a new instance for the Caverns of Time area in this expansion at some point, whether it's a raid or probably wind up just being a dungeon. So we'll probably do some time traveling at some point, and we'll probably see how Deathwing has done some stuff. Where you might have been confused, I just looked it up. Nefarian is the eldest son of Deathwing. Nefarian was also, or is also known as Blackwing.
Okay.
A black dragon. Him and, the hell's her name? Anexia. You've probably heard of Anexia. She's been around since Vanilla WoW. She's the one with the eggs and if you've seen the YouTube video of the guy with the thick Asian accent with the more dots and more whelps handle them. If you haven't seen it, look it up. It's funny. Anyway, so those 2 are siblings, and they are children of Deathwing. Deathwing, before he was corrupted and probably is dead or something, I don't know, was the aspect of Earth. And then this is where the fuzzy part comes in. I don't know what happened to him, something somewhere along the way became corrupt and whatever, and wound up becoming the aspect of death. So is kind of both the aspect of Earth and death. So that's kind of where I think you're getting the two. You've got like all of the lore down, but you're kind of combining Nefarian and Deathwing together. So everything that you said applies to Deathwing, but it's Deathwing, and Nefarian is different. He is Deathwing's son. Nefarian has also been around since original WoW. He was the end boss in one of the old raids, Molten Core.
Oh, see, look at this. Some Warcraft lore. Books, by the way. Good books.
Yeah, I bought The Shattering, which is the book that is supposed to explain like the Cataclysm stuff. It came out right before the Cataclysm expansion came out, and it's supposed to explain a lot of this stuff and how the Cataclysm came about and all this Deathwing stuff. And I bought it probably a month ago, and I still haven't gotten around to starting to read it, so I need to do that at some point. But yeah, it's kind of fun. They put a lot. You can play this game quote unquote casually, meaning you just play, you get your gear, you fight these bosses.
The way I play casually.
Yeah, they talk and they say things, and you just kind of like yeah, and then you kill them and they're dead. You can play it that way, but all of this, everything in this game is all tied together into one giant story, and there's lore and story everywhere. When you go to fight a boss in a raid and he's got a 2-minute speech that he gives beforehand or whatever, that's all tied into this whole story and all this stuff. And if you are a big like lore nerd and love the lore, you read all the books, you do all the when you do the quests, you read all the quest text and stuff, and there is so much in depth, and this is probably the single biggest lore game that I've ever played.
Well,
and I would be willing to bet it's probably the biggest one ever made.
Well, come on now. Lord of the Rings has got more lore than.
But Lord of the Rings was established decades before any video game came about.
Well, I'm just saying, you said of games, it has more lore than all the games.
I'm saying as a video game, not a video game based on pre-established stories. I'm saying because there's nothing in World of Warcraft that wasn't established in anything else other than any other Warcraft game.
All right, I'll buy that.
Absolutely, Lord of the Rings. There's at least 2 novels, giant novels, that have been around since, the 40s or whenever the hell the guy wrote those things. They've been around forever. There's lore everywhere, and that's where even World of Warcraft with orcs and trolls and dwarves and most of that stuff came from Lord of the Rings. But what I'm saying is a video game with a story behind it, based on its own story that it has created for the video game. I can't think of anything else that has that deep story.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Halo is a pretty original story. Oh, gotta get a dig in there on Halo. Good old Halo.
Anyway, so yeah. And it's actually kind of interesting. It's kind of fun. It's one of those things where you can read one of the books when you're not playing, so that you still kind of feel like you're in that world, but you don't feel like playing a game, kind of thing. It's nice.
Yeah, and like I said, the books I've read, I'm a pretty voracious reader. But the books I've read from the Warcraft books they've been good books.
Okay, guys, we are hitting the mark.
All right.
Very good.
Sounds
very good. Any final words on episode? I don't think we've even started episode 231, by the way.
Welcome to Video Game Show, episode 230. Is that what you said? 231. Episode 231. With me, Ivan, Chad, and Keith. There you go.
And that was episode 231.
And that was episode... All right.